the Mario movie exists now, that will never not feel weird to say. I've seen the movie twice now, and can say that while it's not perfect, it still offers a fun time filled with references to the older and newer games. I'm not so sure the critics watch the same movie. But of course, after watching such a Mario-filled movie, I'd want to play some Mario games. But which ones to choose? I mean, this series has such a large catalog of different experiences that I don't even know where to start. Maybe I just need to choose one that's upfront about what it is from start to finish. No surprises, just Mario in his purest, most basic form. Yeah, that'll do. Super Mario 3D Land. A title known for teaming up alongside Mario Kart 7 and a very significant price drop to try and rejuvenate the then failing Nintendo 3DS. Due to nostalgia and a pretty good library of games, the Nintendo 3DS has become one of my favorite consoles in existence. Yeah, sure, the console has its problems and a few garbage fires here and there, but the memories I have playing this console for hours and hours will always make this console a very special one for me. And one game that I remember playing not long after getting my 3DS was none other than Super Mario 3D Land. I played this game all the time as a kid and remember having a lot of fun doing so, but the real question is, does this game still hold up that well for me now that I'm older and care way too much? To start off, yeah, this game is probably about as generic Mario as you can get. The only thing distinguishing this game from a new Super Mario Bros. Game is that pesky little Z-axis. If they had called this game New Super Mario Bros. 3D, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye. The levels are set up just like a traditional 2D Mario game. You have a linear level with a few extra collectibles to go for and a flagpole at the end. Mario moves a lot like he does in the other 3D Mario games. We got long jumps, back flips, wall jumps, and most of the other stuff you expect to see. The level theming is pretty generic with the usual grass, desert, snow. If you have seen it in more than 3 Mario games, then it is probably here. What is nice though is that the worlds themselves don't have a specific theme they have to stick to. There isn't a world full of desert levels or grass levels. The game is constantly switching the levels up. Most of the themes still aren't very creative except for a few standouts, but switching it up like this helps keep things fresh. The levels themselves, though, are very well designed, and I can't really think of any that I didn't have fun playing through, but none of them really stand out in my memory except for this clock one or this other one that is meant to look like a Zelda dungeon, which I thought was a really cool idea. We also have a few power-ups here, like the Fire Flower, the Worse Fire Flower, and of course the Tanuki suit. The Fire Flower is the Fire Flower. Nothing new or special there. The Boomerang Flower is pretty similar to the Fire Flower, except it is much slower and you can only throw one at a time. Nice. I do like how the power-up looks, though. So the Tanuki suit was like a big part of the marketing for this game. Not exactly sure why. I mean, it's not like it's a new power-up. But I will say, though, this is probably the best power-up in the game. A lot of the game's secrets or collectibles are hidden behind places that require you to use it, and it just sort of makes the platforming easier, as well as allowing you to skip past certain sections if you know when to use it. We also have this propeller box thing, which is kind of a power-up, but also not really. It's basically just the propeller mushroom from New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Another big thing that they tried to market this game with was the 3D. This was an early 3DS game, which means that Nintendo was actually trying to get people interested in the glasses-free 3D. The game has these rooms with optical illusions placed in them, and the 3D can help you navigate these, or you can just press the button that shows you where everything is. The 3D can help a bit with making jumps, as it makes the platforms pop out a bit more, which can help with depth perception, but I mean, you're still fine if you play it without the 3D on. It doesn't really make that huge of a difference. One thing I definitely need to commend this game for is the sheer amount of content you have to play with. You have your standard 8 worlds, which each contain 5 to 6 levels per world, which all have 3 star coins for you to collect within them. Pretty nice, you know, that's quite a lot to go through. Now double it. Yep, once you clear the main game, you unlock 8 new special worlds, which have just as much to do in them as the first 8. And then when you beat the first special world, oh yeah. So when it's all said and done, is 3D Land a good game? Yes. Sure, it can feel a little bland at times, but ultimately I can't say I've had a bad time playing it. The movement feels great, the level design is solid, the only real problem with it is that it just often feels pretty unmemorable, which is why no one really talks about it. Not only is this because the game just sort of lacks its own identity, it's also because this game would soon get a sequel on the Wii U that basically did everything it did, but just a little better. Super Mario 3D World was released on the Wii U as the sequel to 3D Land, as well as acting as the main 3D Mario game on the platform. Like with 3D Land, I enjoyed this game quite a lot as a younger fellow, but looking back, I think a lot of people were pretty disappointed with this one. Even as someone who likes 3D World, I still understand why some people were disappointed with this one. 3D Marios are usually much more grand and feel like a bigger deal, while this game was just a sequel to the bland portable entry. You see, 3D Land being pretty bland kind of made sense. It was on the 3DS, which really isn't all that powerful, so keeping it more basic felt like it was a way to try and allow the game to fit better on the console. But on the Wii U, yeah, this definitely feels a little underwhelming as the big 3D Mario of the console. And calling the game 3D World to me is just kind of weird. It made sense for 3D Land because it sort of had a double meaning. It was a 3D Mario on a console that could display actual 3D, but the Wii U can't do that. It's like if they called Breath of the Wild the Legend of Zelda open world game. But to be fair, I don't really know what else to call this game. As weird as I think the title is, it definitely describes it well. Now, to get this out of the way first, there are now two different versions of this game. We have the original on Wii U and the re-release on Switch. I have both versions, and while the Wii U version is still great, I will mainly be using the Switch version in this video. It isn't that different, but there are a few quality of life improvements that I think just make this the better version overall. Like the movement is just faster in this version, which I much prefer as I like that sensation of speeding through levels. If you want to have a good time, just play as Blue Toad in the Switch version. Trust me. Also, you get this new air roll move, which I like, so yeah, we will be playing the Switch version, but keep in mind that most things I say about this game carry over to the Wii U version as well. Like the last game, a lot of this game is pretty generic Mario, but this definitely has a bit more of its own flair to it. I found myself remembering a lot more of the levels from this game, as a lot of them are just more interesting looking. We still have a lot of reused level themes, but overall, just like the last game, the worlds aren't set to a specific theme, so the game is constantly showing you new things to keep it fresh. Once again, all of the levels are very well designed and have extra objectives with things like the green stars. Like the star coins of the last game, you collect the green stars for your own self-fulfillment as well as unlocking new stages to progress in the game. We also have some new kinds of stages that switch up the gameplay a little bit. We have the Plessy stages where you ride on the back of Plessy and it sort of acts like one of those slides in Mario 64 where you're constantly moving forward. Then we have the Captain Toad stages where you play as Captain Toad who can't jump. These levels act more like miniature little puzzles where your goal is to get Captain Toad to all of the stars. Both of these are really fun additions and act as a great way to change up the gameplay a little bit every once in a while. Also, as far as power-ups go, we have the ones returning from 3D Land along with some new ones. First, we got the Mega Mushroom from New Super Mario Bros. DS. This one isn't really used that much throughout the whole game, and I'm not really sure why it's here. It really doesn't add all that much to any of the stages that it's in, but I guess Nintendo just really wanted this to be in the game. We also have the new Double Cherry, which duplicates the player. This one's pretty neat as we can actually stack these on top of each other and you can get a pretty insane amount of clones in some levels, which is pretty fun. But the main attraction we have here is the Cat Bell, and a lot like the Tanuki suit in 3D Land, this one was the big marketing power-up for this game. At least this time it kind of makes sense because this power-up was introduced in this game, unlike the Tanuki suit, which was introduced like 20 years before 3D Land. The cat suit is pretty useful. You can climb walls and do this little pounce attack, and both of these abilities can be pretty useful. Really, the only two power-ups that I found to be super useful in this game are the Tanuki suit and the cat suit. The others are fine, but these are the only ones that feel like they have more than one purpose and can save you in a lot of situations. The power-ups aren't the only thing that can change up the gameplay, though. Instead of just having Mario and Luigi to play with in this game, we now have three others that have tagged along as well. From the start, you can play as Mario, Luigi, Peach, or Toad, and all of these characters basically play like they did in Mario Bros. 2. Mario is the all-around guy, good for starting out. Luigi has a taller jump, but is a bit slippier, making it harder for him to get around. Peach has her floating thing that she does, which makes it easier to land jumps. And Toad is fast. I like Toad. But after beating the main game and unlocking some of the secret worlds, you unlock the fifth playable character, which is Rosalina from Mario Galaxy. She allows you to perform the spin attack from that game, which I think is neat. 3D World took what worked in 3D Land and simply just made it better. From gameplay to presentation, this game is such an improvement over its predecessor, and is just a really fun time overall. If you're one of those people initially disappointed by this game, I would definitely give it another shot, as even though it wasn't exactly what everyone wanted, it is still such an amazing game and I couldn't recommend it enough. So yeah, I think that's about it for this little Mario 3D series of games. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I doubt it's really anything too important. Oh yeah. So with the Switch version of 3D World, we got an entirely new title packaged alongside it called Bowser's Fury, and it is absolutely amazing. This game takes the framework laid by 3D World and takes it in a completely new direction. While 3D World has you going through linear stages, this game has you exploring a relatively small open world that is absolutely packed with things to do. What this game does is fill this large open world with linear stage-like areas for you to complete. Doing so will nab you this game's collectibles, the cat shines. But once you leave the area, you're not quite done with it yet. Just by leaving the stage and then turning back around, the game has loaded in a new challenge for you to complete in that area, and it is completely seamless. This whole idea is completely genius, because for a while now, it felt like there has been this divide on whether 3D Mario should be more linear like we see in the 3D World and 3D Land games, or more open like in 64 or Odyssey. What this game does is the beautiful fusion between the two that gives you this huge open area to explore, while also offering more linear challenges for you to complete along the way. Not only does this offer fans of both the linear and open gameplay styles something they can enjoy, but also creates something completely new that just works so well. And we haven't even mentioned the big thing yet. So every so often, while you're wandering around the area, the atmosphere will start to get a little rainy and dark, and then BAM! Giant Godzilla Bowser. Not only is this just awesome, it can actually change up the world as these spike platforms appear around the world, and there are certain blocks that can only be broken by Fury Bowser's attacks. You can fend him off by gathering a cat shine, or once you have enough cat shines, you can awaken one of the Giga Bells to turn Mario into this giant super cat, allowing you to fight Fury Bowser. You fight him multiple times throughout the game, and even though you do it a few times, it is still an awesome fight. But back to the normal gameplay, we still have a few other things to talk about. As far as getting around to the different sections of the world goes, you are assisted by Plessy returning from 3D World, and you can ride on their back to easily get around between islands. There are even some collectibles only obtainable while riding Plessy in the water. We also have Bowser Jr., who helps you throughout the journey. You can choose how much he helps you, which is basically just choosing your difficulty. If you choose for him to not help you at all, which I think most people did, the only thing he can really do is occasionally paint a wall to get you a power-up. Speaking of power-ups, instead of only being able to hold 2 at a time like in 3D World, you can now basically just hold as many as you want. This can make certain parts easier, but it's also just pretty convenient for when you need one for one of the collectibles, so I don't really mind it. So, if you thought the original 3D World had a lot of cat stuff in it, then just wait until you see this game. The lake you are in is called Lake Lap Cat. There are cats everywhere, and all of the enemies look like they have the cat power-up. Also, your 100% completion reward bonus is having Bowser Jr. and Plessy also get the cat power-up. I'm gonna be honest, this seems like a little obsessive, but it's a fun game, so you know what, I won't question it. Despite the game only taking around 6 hours or so to completely 100%, I still think that this is an amazing game and that it could possibly lay the groundwork for the next big 3D Mario game. And plus, if you buy this game, you get the entirety of 3D World alongside it, and that is also a really good game, so you can't really go wrong with picking this one up. Well, everyone, this marks the end of our little Mario excursion. While 3D Land may have felt a bit basic at times, it overall left me with a positive experience that I quite enjoy going back to every once in a while, and then 3D World took what worked about that experience and expanded upon it to make it an even better experience. Then Bowser's Fury came along and took everything from 3D World and all of the other 3D Marios to make an amazing experience that I think every Nintendo fan should have. These games may not be Odyssey or Galaxy, but they're still amazing in their own way. You know, after I talked about Bowser's Fury, I thought I had covered everything in this little sub-series, but I can't help but feel like I'm forgetting something else again. Crap.